Let's try and get some sense of all of this from Ron Bonjean. He's a Republican strategist and former advisor to Trump's transition team. He's joins us from Virginia. Ron, wow, my head is sort of spinning about this one. What are you making of where we are? You're listening to Andrew and I. Are you thinking we're talking a whole load of rubbish, or are you thinking that this is kind of what you're looking at too, that we have to be patient, we don't know the result, not looking as good for Joe Biden as an early shutout as it might have done, but that doesn't mean he hasn't won it yet?
No, that's absolutely right. It's a nail biter out there in America right now as we watch these various states count their votes. I mean, the fact that Trump won Florida, he's won Ohio, those are big wins in his camp. But, a lot of Republicans have questions about Arizona, and that vote feels like it was really early to be called, especially when they were waiting on states like, Texas and Ohio. And, that's a little concerning. I would say that we also are fascinated with the fact that the polls seem to be really wrong, that they had Joe Biden up considerably in a number of these states across the board. Also, what's fascinating is the amount of money put into some of these states that Democrats invested in. That you're talking $100 million in South Carolina to defeat Lindsey Graham. That didn't pan out. $100 million to defeat Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. That didn't pan out. I felt like that money could have probably been used elsewhere. But it's gonna take a few days to figure out whether or not Joe Biden wins or President Trump wins his reelection. It looks like the Rust Belt states, my home state of Wisconsin, will be deciders. For that, you're talking Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That total of 46 electoral votes. And we're going to have to wait for those votes to be counted.
Ron, if we get out of tonight and it's not decided, is there enough reserves of patience amongst the American people within the Trump campaign, within the Biden campaign, to do what needs to be done and just sit this out for 3 days while we let those counters do their job?
Well, here's another, it just adds to the more uncertainty that Americans are feeling during coronavirus. The pandemic, the fact that we don't know now who will win the election, it adds to the anxiety and the tension. But unfortunately, we'll just have to wait and see until these votes get counted. And then we should anticipate that there will be court challenges, that there could be mail-in ballots that are counted a little bit after, like in North Carolina, those ballots can get counted on November 13th. So, I mean, it's just another thing we're asking our Americans in our country to do is now wait to see who the victor is going to be. And unfortunately, the patience is running thin.
Can you give us a quick update on the Senate? The Democrats have taken 2 Senate seats, Mark Kelly in Arizona, Hickenlooper in Colorado. I mean, are we looking at a scenario which I have to say I never envisaged, which is that potentially the Democrats could take the Senate but lose the White House?
Yes, that's absolutely possible. I was actually thinking that, the inverse could be true as well. Susan Collins is doing reasonably well in Maine when, tens of millions of dollars have been thrown at her in that small state, and the polling hasn't moved much. So I'd like to see how that turns out. Senator Kelly Loeffler in Georgia is going to a runoff that'll be decided in January. So we're going to see, what we haven't seen, though, is a sweep. Like we saw Senator Joni Ernst in Iowa. She won her reelection. Lindsey Graham won his reelection. Tom Tillis looks pretty good right now in North Carolina, is trending towards a win, but still very close. We're not seeing that Democrat sweep right now, and that's fascinating to me. And so we could end up having a Republican Senate, and if Joe Biden were to pull it off, we'd have divided government.
Yeah, okay. Ron Bonjean, thank you very much for joining us. All of our guests saying this evening there are going to be a lot of questions